Uh, I take back everything mean I ever said about Spider-Man 3. The Amazing Spider-Man is now officially the worst Spider-Man movie I have ever seen. Hey guys, this is Frozen Things Stews here, and welcome back to another rant video. And welcome back to another part of my Spider-Man reviews leading up to the amazing, no, to Spider-Man to the Spider, no, across the Spider-Verse, my bad. Now I've already gotten the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies out of the way, the trilogy. Now let's talk about Andrew Garfield's run as Spider-Man. And this time around with the Amazing Spider-Man. So the Amazing Spider-Man came out in the year 2022 and is a reboot to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and is directed by Mark Webb and stars Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Rice Ifans, Irfan Khan, Dennis Leary, Martin Sheen, Sally Field, Campbell Scott, Tessera. So basically, the plot for Amazing Spider-Man tells a story. Well, it's the exact same story as the original Spider-Man's. Peter Parker. You know, um, Peter Parker's parents left him. We got a bit of background of Peter Parker's parents, Ben and May Parker, who pretty much left Peter Parker as a kid. I don't remember if they showed that in the original film. Well, I guess not. But of course, well, that's one thing new. But unfortunately, it's the same story over again. Where Peter Parker is bullied by Flash Thompson, and he meets a love interest, not Mary Jane Watson, but this time Gwen Stacy. And he gets, and then he goes to Oscar. He goes to Oscar, and during Oscar, while in Oscar, he got bitten by a radioactive spider and becomes Spider-Man, where he must stop thugs and then he must stop Dr. Kirk Connors after Peter gave him the formula, and now he turns into the lizard and he must stop the lizard, and yada yada yada. Yeah, now I will say, even though this is the same story, there were some changes that they made to the original Spider-Man. Like what I said, they showed the background, a little bit more of the background of Peter with his parents, and and also the way that Peter got bitten by a radioactive spider. In the original film, the spider bite took place in a museum during a field trip, but this one we actually learned that. Oh wait, no, that was in the second film. But yeah, but ultimately, even though with some quote unquote differences, changes, it's still technically the same story as the original film. So yeah. Now, this movie came out at the time when I pretty much started learning about Spider-Man, and yes, this is actually the first. How do I say this? This is actually the first Spider-Man movie that I saw in theaters. Since I started getting into Spider-Man, I saw the first two Spider-Man movies, and I tried to watch Spider-Man 3, but I didn't really get to review Spider-Man. No, I didn't get to finish Spider-Man 3 because I didn't really like it that much. I explained in my Spider-Man 3 rant. I thought I don't know how I felt about it back then. I don't know how I felt about it back then, but yeah. Now, but yeah, looking back at it, even when I was younger, I didn't really like the film. I think I saw this movie on HBO, the channel, not the streaming service, and then I remember saying, damn, this movie is so boring." And yeah, I think I was bored watching this movie in the streaming service. And yeah, I never really liked this movie because this movie is just a snooze fest. It was so boring. It's so slow, and yeah, and also it feels repetitive because we're just going through the same story over and over and over again. And so yeah, and of course, even though I try to rewatch it, I try to like this movie, but I really can't get into this one. Although I don't think I've ever called this the worst Spider-Man movie, or maybe I did at one point. But yeah, if you saw the intro of the video, yep, I said this. I said what needed to be said. This is the worst Spider-Man movie, and my God, yeah. even rewatch day, I think this movie got worse. Like, the more I watch this movie, the worse it gets. It's just, I don't, and yeah, and I can't believe people actually like this movie. I know it got good reviews and stuff. Like, people say it's okay. This movie does have some haters, but like most people I know say they like this movie and they say that this movie is underrated and they defend it. Um, but honestly, uh, I cannot defend this movie. Like, but you know what's worse? Like, people like give this movie a pass, yet man still doesn't. I know, like I remember saying in my review of the first Spider-Man movie that Spider-Man is basically the Man of Steel. The Spider-Man is basically like Superman 1978. Well, this and Man of Steel are pretty much darker takes on a more happy-go-lucky, campy Spider-Man movie. But here's the thing, Man of Steel is a masterpiece. I love Man of Steel. That movie is so good. Like, it's essentially like, what, it's kind of like the Amazing Spider-Man, but if the Amazing Spider-Man was good. I mean, it's a really dark take on Spider-Man, but it works to me because it still feels like there's light in it. So it feels like there's still fun to be had, and it feels like it isn't bored. It never gets boring, and you actually care about the story. I mean, even with the retelling of Superman, I think it's done really well, and they got such a perfect Superman actor. In fact, Henry Cavill will always be my Superman. I doubt that David. I mean, I doubt David Gordon's will top Henry Cavill Superman because as much as I think he'll be a perfect Superman, I don't see him being like surpassing Henry Cavill. Well, we'll see. Maybe it could be the best Batman movie if an actress I'm passionate about plays Lois Lane, but yeah, I mean, I know I'm going off topic, but I'm just saying that. I mean, but Man of Steel is very similar to this one in a way. It's just better. I mean, what is it that the Amazing Spider-Man does better than Man of Steel? I don't see that. This movie is just like so pointless. It's so unnecessary. I mean, they should have retold the original story. They should have just went straight to telling the story that was told in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Well, okay, well. Now, before I get to all my reasons as to why I hate this movie, there are actually some positives I have for this movie. There are some redeeming quality. I will say that Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are pretty good as Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Yeah, sure. Andrew Garfield doesn't hold a candle to Tobey Maguire. I know it's debatable if people say if people prefer Toby or Andrew. Personally, to me, I prefer Toby a bit more. Well, we'll see about that with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. But Toby Maguire's Spider-Man is pretty good for the most part. No, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is actually really good. I mean, he's, yeah, he does look a bit too old for Peter Parker, but I mean, that's not a problem at all. But I mean, he's good in this movie for the most part. Spider-Man himself, I'm not sure. I mean, I honestly feel mixed about Spider-Man this one. I mean, I'll talk more about that in this one. I mean, but I don't think Andrew Garfield was great in this one. I think he did try his best, but I think all of Andrew's talent was shown in Andrew's talent. That I mean, all of Andrew Garfield's talent. I mean, all the potential he had for a great Spider-Man actor is shown in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I'll talk about that more about that in the review. Um, but yeah, by far the best thing about this film by far is Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy. If you remember my rant on the Amazing Spider-Man 3, I did not like Bryce Dallas Howard's Gwen Stacy. I thought not only was she pointless in it, but I mean, I felt like Bryce Dallas Howard felt miscast as Gwen Stacy. I mean, I don't see. I mean, she doesn't scream Gwen Stacy. Emma Stone, on the other hand, screams Gwen Stacy. I mean, Emma Stone is in my top 15 favorite actors. I love Emma Stone, especially Mia from La La Land. I would say this might be in her top 5 of best performances. I mean, I can't really see a flaw. I mean, I think Gwen Stacy's flawless in this movie. I mean, I can't really see anything wrong with her. And she actually looks like Gwen Stacy from the comic. She looks comic accurate, and I appreciate that. But yeah, what else is there to say? Uh, there are some good scenes in this one, like when, like there was this one badass scene where Peter Parker was, you know, Peter Parker was running from the thugs, like he was trying to Peter Parker in this alley or whatever you call it, like I think alley is maybe like a blocked area, like I don't know, but kind of like an alley, and then we see Peter Parker running from away, and then like trying to kill it. Yeah, that scene was badass. Yeah, I enjoyed that scene. Like probably the best, probably my favorite action scene in the entire film. But by far my favorite scene in the film was in the highway scene where Peter Parker was saving a kid. Now that is a great scene right there. But unfortunately, that's where all my good things lie. Now let's get into everything else that really pissed me off. So yeah, like what I said, this is literally just the same thing as the original. I mean, we don't need to suffer through another retelling of Spider-Man's origin story because Spider-Man's origin story has already been told. So what is the point of doing this? I think this is just such a waste of time. Yeah, this movie was just such a waste of time because there is no way. Yeah, there's no way anyone could sit through this dark take. Plus, this movie being dark, it does not work to me. And it's coming from someone who likes darker movies. But there are other Spider-Man movies that were dark and did better. Like the original Spider-Man movie from 2002. That movie was dark, and there were some really there's some great jump scares in that film. Green Goblin. The reason why people like this movie is because it's dark. Like it's a darker and more serious take, but I think they went a little too far with that, up to the point where it's boring and lifeless. But another Spider-Man movie that's dark is No Way Home. No Way Home is dark because it actually. No Way Home is a grounded take on Spider-Man. That movie is like I know people are starting to hate this movie called overrated because it's just fan service and it nostalgia. But no, that movie, the reason why the movie is good is because of how grounded it is. It actually has consequences and it's emotional and dark and takes itself seriously when it needs to. And like with both the first Spider-Man movie and No Way Home, they work at being grounded Spider-Man movies and dark. Spider-Man 2 can be dark as well, but not as much as those two Spider-Man movies I mentioned. But with the Amazing Spider-Man, again, I think this movie should have worked, but the problem is that it's just so boring. Like there is such a lack of action here, and it's really hard to get through this movie because it's like apparently 2 hours and 60 minutes long, and that's normal right there for a Spider-Man movie, but this movie is just such a struggle to sit through because it's just a massive bore fest. Ugh. It's it's so boring. Really, really, really boring. In fact, one of the most boring superhero movies I have ever seen. And superhero movies are supposed to be fun. There's nothing fun about this movie. Yeah, as much as I hate Spider-Man 3, at least that movie has some entertaining moments to it. It's not too boring. Even if it gets boring at times. What's so boring? What's so fun about this movie? Maybe, yes, Peter Parker running from the cops is like is enjoyable, and the good scenes I mentioned is enjoyable. Any scene with Gwen Stacy, even the Gwen Stacy, honestly, as much as I really like Gwen Stacy, in fact, I prefer Gwen Stacy over Mary Jane Watson in the original Spider-Man trilogy. But even the scenes with Gwen Stacy is boring. Peter and Gwen do have a good chemistry, but their romance is kind of. But even their romance is kind. It makes me bored. So I don't know if I should give that a pass or not. I absolutely hated what they did with Ben Parker. Wow. Ben Parker. This movie was so unlikable in this one. He's not good. I don't see him as a good uncle. In the original Spider-Man, Ben Parker was such an inspirational uncle. He told Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. He has such great teaching to Peter that Peter can learn from, and and give Peter Parker such a huge impact on such a great impact on the movie. And That's such a great impact on it. But this one, Ben Parker is really mean. Like I feel bad for Peter. Like Ben Parker treats Peter Parker like garbage. Like the scene when Peter came home late and Ben was upset. I mean, Aunt May said that she had no problem with Peter getting home late, but Ben Parker's like, oh, you're not allowed to defend Peter because Peter Parker should be punished and scolded, and we should treat him like trash, and we deserve to treat him like trash. Like, I felt bad for Peter in that scene. Although I'll admit though, Peter's acting in that scene was kind of. I feel like Andrew Garfield was kind of overacting that scene. Yeah, that's probably one of my flaws with him. Um, that's one of my flaws with Andrew Garfield in that scene when he had an argument with Ben Parker. His acting in the scene was kind of laughably bad. Yeah, and and because of how much I couldn't stand Ben Parker in this movie, like his death kind of meant nothing. In the original Spider-Man, Ben Parker's death was just so powerful and so emotional that I actually teared up. But in this movie, there is no emotional, there's no weight to it. Plus, I mean, the killer just was just there, and he killed. Like the fact that he shot Ben Parker just came out of nowhere. Like I guess because Ben was trying to call the cops on that criminal, but I mean the shot felt like it came out of nowhere and stuff. But yeah, um, the villain was awful in this movie. My God, yeah. I mean, I don't know how I feel about Dr. Kurt Connors. I mean, he looked so innocent. He looked a little too innocent to be the villain, but like that's another movie why that's another reason why the movie is so boring. Because I mean, and why there's not much action. Because literally, Lizard felt like a last minute aspect. Like he only like Lizard like most of the time it was just Dr. Kurt Connors, but Lizard just came out in the third act. Like only the third act. Wow, I mean, throwing a villain last minute just seems so off. I mean, we should have gotten Lizard earlier in the film. But honestly, guys, Lizard might be the worst Spider-Man villain. My God, I hated this guy. Lizard is awful in this movie. My God. And if you think Electro is the worst Spider-Man villain, oh, please, like you haven't seen anything yet with this guy right here. Like first of all, the Lizard CGI was like dog poop. Oh my goodness. Designing who's responsible for designing Lizard? Cause it looks like like it's so bad. Like I'm speechless by how bad that design is. Oh, disgusting. And if you think that's bad enough, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm just baffled by how bad that is. And I don't know. I mean, and also, yeah, his dialogue's really good. His motivation to just turn the whole world to desert, it's just dumb. And honestly, the action scenes are not good either. The only good action scene was the one I mentioned with Spider-Man, like, versus some thugs. But Peter wasn't even wearing the Spider-Man mask in that scene, so there's no point in that. And speaking of Spider-Man, the action scenes is bad, but oh my goodness, the suit in this movie, bleh, bleh, bleh. Oh my God, what an ugly suit that is. Like that suit looks like a basketball. Like I don't know how they got away, but that Spider-Man suit looks like a first draft. I mean, hated Amazing Spider-Man 2 all you want, but you gotta admit that suit looks amazing. One of the best Spider-Man suits. Like if you think that suit is bad, then I won't understand you. I mean, but this suit in this movie, it looks like a basketball. Like it looks nothing like Spider-Man, and it looks like a first draft, and they didn't even bother to make more variations of the suit. So yeah, it looks like a joke. Do you really didn't like what they did with Spider-Man? And yeah. So overall, the Amazing Spider-Man is awful. It is boring. It's slow. It's not even well shot. It looks like a fan-made film for some reason. It, it looks like a fan-made film. I don't know why. And yeah, and the movie does so many things wrong. It's essentially just the same as the first, as the original, but without any of the wit or without any of the weight. Yeah, sure, Andrew Garfield did try his best, and Gwen Stacy was flawless, and Emma Stone was flawless as Gwen Stacy, and there were a few good scenes, but everything else in this movie was just, yeah, this is one of the most boring superhero movies I have ever seen. It is just beyond lifeless and dull. So yeah, and yeah, yeah, this movie is essentially just a cash grab for Sony, and this is easily the most disappointing movie I've seen in 2012. So with that said, I'm gonna give The Amazing Spider-Man a 2.5 out of 10. I would have rated it a 2, just a 2, but with like some, with the redeeming qualities to it, I think it's between a 2 and 3. I can't really decide, so 2.5 is the safe bet for now. So also for my rant on The Amazing Spider-Man, what is your opinion on this movie? Who agrees with me that this is the worst Spider-Man movie ever? Or are you a defender of this movie? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my review of The Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. And oh boy, I'm prepared to get some controversy for it. So yeah, bye guys.